What is the one thing that keeps you going in life? What do you hold dear to your heart that you are grateful for, that you owe that thing your gratitude? Whatever it may be, like a best friend, a favorite video game, or a burning passion to achieve a lifetime goal, we each have our own unique traits that makes us human. For me, it's been the art of anime. And the reason I say that is quite the details actually. It starts from a dark place and continues down a path of hope and fate. As many of you watching this will know, anime has become quite the juggernaut in entertainment. It can be argued though it's already been that way for years. We all had that one friend who was a Dragon Ball nerd and was into Death Note. Some of you may relate to going to Hot Topic and seeing all the anime merch they were selling, looking at history, whether it was Toonami that introduced us or fan subbed anime that we would get off videotapes, remember those? As well as files online. That era is just unforgettable. A brutal reminder, you won't ever relive that era where we had to watch episodes of Toradora in parts. Being 23 years old, I grew up with American cartoons, also known as Western animation. I mean, we can agree SpongeBob needs no introduction. So when the years went by, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, and Disney Channel got me through my childhood, and I still owe a lot of my memories to them. While there is still some gems here and there these days, I personally fell out of the landscape gradually, for many reasons. One, because I felt like I was growing into an age where some of the content just wouldn't hit the same for me anymore. I mean, we all have experienced that sensation at some point in our lives. There's a difference between the things we enjoy at 3 years old and what we enjoy at 8 years old. There's this passion to feel like a big kid, to feel mature and rebellious, turning on South Park when mom and dad weren't around, seeing King of the Hill reruns at 10 p.m. Those were the days. Which leads me to another point. There's the sense of nostalgia. We all get to that point one day where we'll be like, back in my day, we had this and that. And looking at the new guy with suspicious eyes. And I'll admit, I was guilty of that myself. It was an era where Regular Show was one of the few shows that I even watched, which I still hold dear to my heart, one of the defining shows of Generation Z. It was on at a time where I felt alone, that I felt like an outcast, someone who couldn't be understood properly. You see, my dream is to be a screenwriter and to tell my stories to the world. I've grown to have hope that one of these days I can achieve my dreams, as I hope many of you have too. I remember the days where I would try to get involved with group activities but still feeling that I was left out, considering I have a lifetime struggle of anxiety and isolation. I couldn't bring myself up to be someone that I wish I had the urge to be, but instead I ended up with my mother as my best friend. I grew up without a father figure due to him being deported when I was young. There was this lingering promise that he eventually tried to be in my life again and watch me grow in my teenage years, but I was left to fend for myself. As the family I had left were starting to think I was a lost cause, that I couldn't think for myself, on top of my emotional issues that only got worse, to the point I ended up going in and out of psychiatric wards for a few years straight. Most of my distant quote-unquote friends, which looking back I'm going to say very loosely, they were just sitting next to me, and we were encouraged to be friendly with each other, but the thing is, you can't force friendship. That kind of thing has to be genuine, and I thrive for getting along with people that I can immediately connect with. It may sound like I am close-minded, but when you think about it, there's something special about getting along with someone that you feel that something is possible with each other. At the same time, being open-minded with others that are on the other side personality-wise can really benefit you in the long run. Which leads me to my second phase of my life so far, which I'm going to confess right now. You can make fun of me if you want. I used to be part of the Brony community. Yes, the people that were degenerate for My Little Pony. The community has seen better days and have since fallen out of relevancy, but I, like many other people in their 20s and their 30s, found an ironic enjoyment in watching candy-colored horses that represented the messages of love, tolerance, and friendship, along with the overall life lessons it taught, like respecting other people's opinions, letting your loved ones grow up to be their own person, learning to try things like reading books, among many others. It really helped that the creator was Lauren Faust, the wife of Craig McCracken, the creator of the Powerpuff Girls, which was satisfying for me. I myself am a huge fan of girl power shows, already being familiar with shows like Kim Possible and Totally Spies, and of course I knew who Sailor Moon was. I myself do like some of the stuff that's come out of that franchise. Now at this time, when I was in high school, I noticed most teens my age had just moved on to liking anime, There was this one guy who always walked around wearing this Attack on Titan backpack. At first I actually didn't get much of the hype, or rather I just didn't have the time to try anime seriously, given that I was too comfortable in my little bubble and staying stuck in the past, which lasted long enough to where I was realizing I was letting life pass me by too fast, and I felt at that moment, okay fine, I'll check it out. There was this condition I put on myself when it came to trying anime out, was that it had to be within my interests. Should I try to push through the 1000 episodes One Piece got, see why JoJo became such a mega hit on the internet? Well, the thing is, I wasn't really into that type of genre at the time, it just wasn't my thing. But I do respect that it got such huge fan bases, heck there's clips and memes here and there that I myself find funny. I'm personally into slice of life and romantic comedy, as well as degenerate content, and like I said, I want to be a screenwriter, which comes from a passion of filmmaking that I had going on at this time. I grew to like genres I didn't think I would like before, and sure enough, I became hooked. So as soon as My Brony Phase ended and My Little Pony finished, I was desperate for another show with strong female characters, and that show would end up being Hyperdimension Neptunia. This show is literally video game consoles being turned into hot waifus, so do with that info what you will. But this show existed and was part of a series of video games that is still going on today. I found this franchise pretty cute and it filled my girl power fix. And little did I know, this was only the beginning of my weeb phase. While scrolling for anime that would stick with me, Angel Beats stood out to me as the one that cemented my fate as a weeb. This show changed a lot of my previous thoughts about anime and seeing just how dramatic and impactful that these anime writers can be. The story for Angel Beats also hooked me right from the start. Spoiler warning by the way if you haven't watched it. It followed this guy Otonashi. He wakes up in the middle of a school zone where he meets Yuri, the leader of the Afterlife Battlefront, an organization that she founded in response to the cruel fates that led to this afterlife, blaming God for where they are now. The cast is full of students that didn't get to live out their fullest potential in the time they were alive, whether we're talking about Iwasawa, the lead singer of Girls Dead Monster, who was grinding to become a musician, but her career and her life was cut short by a brain injury. Seeing her sing her farewell song and being replaced by hardcore fan Yui in her spot was one of the most bittersweet moments I ever saw in entertainment. Yui herself also has the backstory of being paralyzed from a car accident, whose final desire in life is fulfilled by Hinata, who up to this point had this comically ups and downs relationship with her, but when it came down to it, being there for each other is all they needed at this time. I just knew right then and there, after sitting through all 13 episodes of Angel Beats, that anime was capable of not only breaking me emotionally, because let's face it, those of you who watched the show, we all got emotional at that ending. If you didn't, you're not human, please don't talk to me. But also that anime was capable of being a new way of inspiring me to be something more. To be a person that is remembered for giving back to people and caring for others. Fruits Basket is a great example of this. The story of Toru Honda, who has just begun to live life on her own, resorts to living in a tent, which happens to be parked not far off from the house of the Soma family. As they begin to know each other, and she discovers their secret of each family member representing the spirits of the Chinese zodiac, Toru's presence and acceptance of them begins to be a positive influence on them, to the point you couldn't imagine the family without her anymore. I genuinely think she is one of the most lovable protagonists like ever. She is just so selfless, and people like that who exist in real life deserve all their blessings and their flowers. It is hard to come by people like that, and should you ever meet up with someone as humble as Toru, be grateful that person exists. I thrive to be someone like her who can influence people as well as get them to be open-minded, as seen with her relationship with Kyo, representing the cat who was excluded from the zodiac and therefore shunned by them. And this connects back to my long time struggle to try to be part of a surrounding of unity that I couldn't seem to find one that was permanent for very long. Seeing I was never alone this whole time, whether I was relating to people in real life or in fiction, ultimately words can speak loud. To understand the context of someone who is misunderstood and living with this need to belong takes the mind of someone sympathetic enough to where something can come out of it. And having lived without a father figure and struggling with emotional issues with no permanent place to belong, that's where I came across Toradora. Now a lot of you 2000s anime lovers will immediately recognize the title and the iconic tsundere that is Taiga Asaka. Now I could talk all day about how iconic she is, but I want to focus on this arc that she had going on that really didn't help her case when it comes to her being so stubborn all the time and putting on this act where she looks like she can't even bother. You see, her father isn't able to be around for her in the long run when it's revealed he can't live with her despite promising efforts to do so at the expense of divorce, which makes her emotional. This part right here, it just hit home for me. I felt like I lived her life, being an emotionally and frankly misunderstood character who desperately needed a turnaround to have a better life, and I just about broke down. Seeing her get involved in that iconic fight scene made me reflect on myself emotionally and mentally, knowing I am one to not let things end on such a dim note, that they should go on and never die down. And going back to that desire to want a better life, the last anime I want to mention this absolutely reflects with me the most. Actually, there's two, and considering they have the same studio and released in the mid-2000s with the same voice actors as the main characters of both shows even, Haruhi Suzumiya and Lucky Star were the iconic duo from Kyoto Animation that reflects me as a person. While both shows have the same studio and same voice actors in both Japanese and English, the genre and tone of them are different. Haruhi Suzumiya is the namesake character and main girl that becomes this shining light in the life of Gion, who lives a normal life and prefers to keep it that way, but out of nowhere Haruhi just sees something in him that lands him a spot in her SOS brigade, made up of characters that are far from normal, Yuki being a humanoid interface, Mikuru being a time traveler, Koizumi being an Esper, and Haruhi herself allegedly being a god, which she herself does not know, and if she did, problems would occur of unimaginable proportions. And you know something, being part of a cast of weirdos that just so happened to be brought together, even if it was by the influence of someone who may or may not be the end of life as we know it, that is just such a special thing to me. Haruhi is an energetic person, no doubt about it, and it's come to my understanding some anime fans can't even stand her, despite all the success she and her voice actress Aya Hirano gathered from it when it released in 2006. That being said, her burning passion to find interesting and fun things in life to cure her boredom is something that a lot of us can relate to. And going back to the part where being part of a cast of characters is something special to me, that stands out especially in Haruhi's unlikely sister series Lucky Star. This show's got no recurring story aside from the Lucky Channel segments at the end of each episode, but that doesn't hold it back, as this show's existence to just entertain and be this chill and funny slice of life series revolving around 4 girls is just wholesome and reflective of 2000s otaku culture in general. While many of the references may not be caught on by those who have gotten to anime many years later, Lucky Star reflects an innocent time in anime history where we just got along and we didn't deal with gatekeepers just yet. Konana just being herself and so fiercely dedicated to being an otaku that she is the living definition of that word. We all knew that one person who was like that, and who could forget the Haruhi references this show had. This show knew what it was, and it had fun with itself, something that we all need to do every once in a while, if not all the time. And that's why I think anime just stood out to me so much, to the point it inspired me to keep going, to start a new history for myself and find someone who is destined to be mine. And sure enough, I did find that person, and we've been together for 4 years at the time of making this video. We get along to a lot of the same anime, and strangely enough, have the same passion and dream to be humble role models for the next generation. If I could do it, you can do it too. That's my motto, and to be the sunshine in someone's life is something I thrive to be, and I owe a lot to the anime I ended up watching and getting hooked on. Whether it's the pressure of deadlines, to be someone you're dying to be, to feel like you belong, anime showed me this life is precious, and you should carry on to it. You never know where it's going to take you next. And that's how anime saved my life. Have you watched an anime that stood out to you and made you reflect on your own life? Let me know in the comments below. If you made it this far to the video, thanks for sticking around and hearing my story. I love you all so very much. Please support my Patreon and Ko-fi, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to my channel. This is your sunshine, Yui Tachibana, signing out.